You ever wondered how you could be walking down the street and know what the signs on the road are without even looking at them? Or how you're able to walk into a room and know where everything is by heart? It's because of something called the internal model of the brain.
So, what is the internal model? Well, in simple terms, it is a rough approximation of the world around you, built by your brain from experience and memory over the many years you've been alive. In essence, your brain is generating its own reality, and this is integral to every part of your visual experience and spatial awareness of the world.
So, how does this work? The thalamus sits in the center of the brain, between the eyes and through which all the visual sensory information pass. The visual cortex is in the back of the head and is the appropriate destination for this information.
And while there are a considerable number of signals going to the visual cortex, there are 10 times as many going in the opposite direction. So, what's happening here? Well, the visual cortex is transmitting a stream of detailed expectations or what it thinks it will see out in the world to the thalamus. These expectations are then compared with the information coming in from the thalamus. Only the errors or the things that the visual cortex didn't expect to see makes it back as new information. The expectations sent by the visual cortex imply that the internal model maintains knowledge of all the things that we have ever seen in our lives. This also comes to explain how it's possible for you to dream. Because your brain knows what a rose, a book, or even what a dinosaur sort of looks like, it's possible for it to reproduce these images vividly in your sleep. But why does our brain even need the internal model? Well, number one, it facilitates spatial awareness. Ever noticed how if you're sitting at a table, you're able to reach out and pick up things even though you aren't looking at them? Well, the internal model acts like a mapping system that keeps track of the objects that aren't even in an immediate field of view. And number two, it helps to stabilize your vision. Your internal model operates under the assumption that the world you see is stable, and thus serves to counteract the wild movements of your eyeballs when it comes to seeing things. Because if you were to get rid of the internal model, your vision would look a lot less like this and a lot more like this. All of this may have prompted you to think of the internal model as a hyper-realistic rendering of the world, when in fact it's quite the opposite. Think of it more like a rough diagram with the details being added to it on a need-to-know basis. This means that the internal model is constantly changing and being updated. So the next time you see a beautiful sight, remember that your mind brings just as much to it as your surroundings do. Or just be happy you aren't getting a seizure every time you open your eyes.